Hello, we are
Yay!
live.
Happy
It's
Friday!
happy Friday. I'm glad it's Friday.
Is it a TGIF kind of day?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. It absolutely is. So, what we're hoping for is Mike's going to join us. Mike was
All right.
excited.
Hey,
So,
that's great.
hopefully, we'll get Mike and then we'll get some other people. And as it's
That would be
streaming
nice.
out
Yeah.
to the locations, here we go. So, today, switch
Today.
off your guilt detector, switch on your superpower.
Oh, God. It's
Why
almost
don't
like
you
an
start?
encrypted message. Oh,
Yeah.
dear. Yeah. No.
Why don't you lead us off? Why don't you tell us, of course, if anyone doesn't, let's start with who we are
Yes.
first.
Yes.
Because
So I'm on a mission. That's who I am. I'm on a mission. Um, I've been a marketer and I studied personal development, human development for human
Mhm.
behavior for years now, and I've really enjoyed it. Actually, I went on we refreshed our website, and I was just reading. My marketer had sort of told a story of a pivot that I had a long time ago,
Mhm.
and I was rereading that pivot. And I was, man, this story is well told, and it really is about discovering, it's about being on purpose, right? So anyway, I'm on a mission, and the mission is called the human approach. And all of this, what we're talking about, Allison, in terms of overcoming fear and, tapping into your intuition, I think a lot of people in the last year have really dug down and go, okay, what's this all about? Who am I? What do I really want to do? How do I serve? And so our mission, called a human approach, is a multi-pronged approach that really helps people identify with what's
Mhm.
what their priority is, and what I always say, to succeed deliberately. So we're putting all of
Mhm.
those tools together in a membership that include marketing, personal development, body language, all kinds of stuff to help people go, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Mhm. Awesome. Very, very well said. Who am I? I am Allison Sutter. I have been writing courses that deal with spiritual and personal development for about 7 years. I have my very own specific signature way of doing it. I've done things on visualization, law of attraction, intuition, abundance mindset. My signature program is called Accelerate Your Mojo, which just means connect with your inner source sooner than you would have otherwise. Um, so that's what I teach. That's what I do. It's funny. I realized I had a Kajabi hero. Kajabi is where I house all of my courses and stuff. It's fantastic. If anyone is interested, let me know. I can hook you up with them. But it's really cool. So anyway, so we're talking about switching off that guilt detector. Why don't you get us going? You get us started today.
Yeah, I know. I think our big topic today is about impact. So we talked about overcoming fear. We talk a lot about intuition, and I think we wanted to kind of focus on impact. And when we were kind of unpacking the nuggets of this, and the first thing that hit me was about switching off that guilt detector. And I think because the thing that we don't get is how much we get in our way. And so that's where the guilt detector comes in. That they're even when we try and dig down into that spirit and go, okay, who am I? What do I want to do? And that little flame that just wants to burn, I call that superpower, like whatever your genius is that you're just dying to do. We have been so trained through the education system, through religion, through so many aspects, government, everything, that we've been so trained to conform and so trained to kind of fit into the system as a cog in the wheel. And we are part of a system, but the system is the oneness consciousness. The system is you as a spirit, as a soul, with a unique purpose to serve humankind. And I believe that I've always believed that is our only
Mhm.
purpose on here, is how do we serve? What is it that we do? And we do that by being the best person we can be. But yet, over the years, we accumulate so much baggage of all the things that we're not. And we're so riddled with guilt. that we can't seem to kind of pull back those curtains and go, yeah, but who am I? What is it that I do?
Yeah.
And kind of, like unpack that, that knapsack, right? And I think somebody had mentioned about that knapsack that we carry around, and you said, well, maybe you carried around.
Uh-huh. Oh, I know. I didn't realize. I realized that sounded so pointed, but what I was trying to do is sort of like wake us all up that we're individuals, right? We have
Yes,
individual
yes,
perspectives.
yes,
So
yes. And I think we all have a knapsack. It just some have boulders and some have pebbles, And I think
yeah,
having the awareness that the knapsack is there and that you're carrying some kind of a load, and that is, and we, I think I mentioned when I started working with Linda Proctor, and she said, you have to be coachable, and I was like, I'm coachable. She goes, yeah, everybody says that. But I run into that all the time in marketing, and I see it in personal development, that I see people who have studied personal development for 25 years, and they can recite the quotes, and they go to the seminars and everything, but there's still a block there because they're still carrying all of these paradigms and conditioning that they're still trying to do, be all of who they want to be. And they're trying to do it with all of those paradigms and all those conditionings. And when you kind of break through and you start unpacking that knapsack and dump those boulders, and especially that, the guilt, we carry so much guilt and shame. And I can see it in, right now, that as we record this, which is what, September 2nd, September 3rd, something like that. And as we're recording this, I mean, I see what's coming through the media right now. There are guilt trips going on, and I say to people all the time, I don't keep an empty suitcase around for guilt trips. Like, don't even try. I think, when you kind of you release that and you go, no, what am I here to do? Who am I? And you start to get in touch, and you are brilliant at this, Allison, but asking some real questions of yourself to really get in touch with that authentic self and really feel what that feels like, not think or do or perform or whatever, all the stuff that the ego wants you to do, but really feel what that feels like. When, I got to tell you, it was really cool. A couple of weeks ago, somebody said to me, she said, you know what, so much has changed in my business. She goes, all I'm focused on right now is doing what brings me joy. And it was like, okay, how do you do that? So we kind of, we broke that down a little bit. She goes, no, really. She says, I go for walks. And she was really allowing herself to kind of just intuitively go, what do I enjoy doing? I love, hanging out with my dog, and I love flying. She's a pilot. She coaches girls to fly. And she said, I just was really focused. And she says, the more I got into that sort of doing what I love, the more my energy vibration was elevated. And it was like, oh, that's cool. And so I started to pay more attention to that. And just what you said to me, Allison, a couple of weeks ago, you said, what if you just like allowed yourself to go in this, creative path and do whatever it is, that you feel like doing, and do it as far as you can do it, as much as you can do it, without it expecting anything in return or any expectation, right? To what it will bring or what it will do. And when you kind of start to follow those paths, like you find that your energy level, not energy in terms of, oh, I can, I'm the ever ready bunny, but your vibration raises. And that's the ticket. That's the ticket right there, is when you're operating in a low vibration of fear and of scarcity and of lack and of guilt and of shame and all that stuff, all of that, I have to do this, I should be doing that, all of that stuff. You are in such a low vibration, you're going to attract nothing but, about more crap, right? So, I'm writing the revising the splash page for a membership. I wrote on there that, the journey should be fun and light and encouraging. It can be struggles and it can be difficult if you want it to be, but it shouldn't be, because that's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to explore and expand and have fun, right?
Yeah. So there's so much in there. I'll never remember it all, but I was thinking of like, so when someone's watching and they're like, well, how do you trust that following something that is your passion, that is your joy, is the logical choice, right? If you understand that, first of all, you're a vibrational being and your vibrational countenance gives you information, and like you're talking about, the difference in vibration, high or low. Low technically is a vibration of resistance. It's not a vibration of allowance. And so when you follow your, like for years, I don't know for what, like since the 80s, there have been more and more drum beats going, follow your passion, follow your passion, follow your passion. Everyone's like, yay, but why? Why do I follow my passion? Like, what's it going to get me? Right? So you follow your passion because passion, excitement, curiosity, interest is a vibration of allowance because of the name excitement tells you, or passion tells you, you're in the right vibe to receive more of what you want. And you started out with saying make an impact. Well, if you want to make an impact, first of all, who you're making it on and what are you making it in and why are you doing it and all those other things. But all of those are answered when you're following your joy or passion or curiosity or interest. It's a complete formula. You don't have to overthink it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's the mind that goes, well, my joy doesn't pay the bills. You know what? Maybe it doesn't today, but it may later on. So if you want to make an impact and you want to be, not stuck, and I'll explain something. Just it was really interesting. I was just about to make a Instagram post this morning because, like, the guilt detector is something. Guilt. You were talking about how, like, sensations keep us stuck. We're stuck in this guilt. We don't switch on our superpower. We're stuck in the negative thinking. So this is kind of a high an out there thought, but I'll put it out there anyway in case anyone wants to chew on it. I came across a stat one day that said how many moments of now there are in a second. It's like 9 billion or something, 9 billion moments of now. If you overlap that with the concept of a film strip like Disney did, right? Disney created Mickey Mouse on a couple pieces of paper. He altered the image slightly in each piece of paper. You flick it really fast and it looks like movement. That's essentially us. So in each frame, we're either repeating the same thing or we're altering it slightly and it appears as if something has changed. We are unstuck, right? So to me, like, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm thinking about the term stuck. Like, I'm stuck in guilt. I'm stuck in shame. I'm stuck in fear. I'm stuck. Stuck seems like an impossible thing to undo. Like, when you're stuck, you're like, oh shit, it's over. Like, I'm stuck. Versus and this is just my personal opinion, when I think about Walt Disney and the way all he had to do was alter the frame slightly, just the next frame, just a little bit, nothing big, just a little bit. And the next one, just a little bit. And if you just do that a little bit each day, you're actually not stuck, because you're either just repeating the same thing over and over again and the picture doesn't feel like it's changing, or you're changing it to something different, right? And all you have to do is make a little change. So to me personally, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. I can make a little change. I don't have to make a quantum leap. I can just make a little change to something and to integrate what also you said is about questions. Like, from a perspective of being a teacher, I could stand up and lecture to my students when I taught school. But what good is that? Like, come on, man. No one wants to hear someone just spew information, go home, memorize it, take the test and go away. What good is that? It does you nothing. Questions engage the person from a level of their own perspective and their own integration. So the more you can ask questions like, what do I need to believe to be true about myself in the situation to feel that way I do? If I feel stuck, I believe something. I believe that I can't make a difference. I believe, in fact, this morning I was in a really terrible mood because I had a headache. and I had a thought, and the thought was, what difference does it make? What difference is it making? Like, that thought just crossed my mind, because people talk about putting in all this effort and doing all this work, and then they're like, what difference does it make? Nothing's changing. And I thought, that what's changing, the thought is evidence of a vibration. It doesn't. And then I thought, well, ask questions. What are you trying to change? Are you just trying to make money? Or are you actually trying to do something else? Because if you're trying to do something else, of course it matters. Of course it matters what you are doing, because you are an individual on planet Earth, incredibly unique. So when you take this stupid concept of money out of it, trying to earn money, just, you are making a difference. Maybe you're not earning $1 billion more, but you are making a difference. And so I think that asking questions, investigating your own thought process can do exactly what, the great title that you gave us, which is switch off the guilt detector, switch on your superpower,
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of things while you were speaking, because there was so much good stuff there. And yeah, I think I'm going to quote you and write an aha moment Monday on the film reel, because that's really good. Because I think that when we communicate in analogies, then we actually get it. And everybody talks about the cumulative effect and make one small change. We don't want one small change. We want quantum leaps. And,
Of course.
and when we do the small changes and whatever, we want to see that something is different. And it's not, Steve Jobs used to say, you can only connect the dots backward. And it's not until
Mm-hmm.
you look back and you go, wow, this last year, like a lot has happened. And I know with me, a lot has happened this year, and it wasn't financial, but there was a lot of unpacking that needed to happen. And I thought I knew myself pretty well, but when you hit roadblocks, then all of a sudden you start asking questions like that. Why am I
Yeah.
feeling this way? What do I believe that is making me think this way, right? And where, when you have fear or guilt or shame or anything, I know those are low vibrations. I don't like sitting in those. So when I get into that point, it's like, what am I afraid of? And normally that's projection, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not in that present moment where you are. You said about the difference between resistance and allowance, and I love that,
Mm-hmm.
because that low vibration is resistance, and it's usually you're trying to control things, right? And
Yes.
you do I was watching an Abraham Hicks video yesterday, and she was saying, because I always say about influencing the weather, which people kind of laugh at. She says, of course you can influence weather, of course you can
Yeah.
control the weather, because it's all
It's you
about
create your
vibration.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reality, because when you get into the vibrational state that the weather is on, and then again, this is like way crazy, but it's everything is energy. And when you understand that, then it just kind of, then when you get rid of that, see that paradigm, whatever, then you open up to new things. But you said a couple things which is really cool, and a couple of things, those were awesome. And then I wanted to mention too, this week when you mentioned about having a headache, I wrote down planet shift, because everybody
Mm-hmm.
has been talking about this big shift that we're going through, this like the great awakening, right? And how in order for us to ascend in this great awakening, there's a lot that's going to happen to both our bodies and our minds. So if you are feeling your
Yeah.
ears are ringing, or you're feeling off balance, or you're feeling exhausted, or you're feeling 1 minute you're all happy and you're going and you're totally on purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
the next minute like you're totally falling off the wagon. If you feel the uncertainty and unstable, that is because we are literally shifting. So
Mm-hmm.
animals feel it
Yeah.
as well, because they're operating at a very another vibration. So
Mm-hmm.
and this is part of where we have to kind of go with it. When you mentioned about the allowance, we have to not try and control this or resist it. We need to understand, look, it's all of us, and don't take it personally, right? I know I was
Right.
looking at my horoscope, and he said all his plans are retrograde and whatever, and he said to me, we Aries people, he said you guys always, you have lots of energy and you always want to be building, and he said this is probably not going to be that time, but he said make sure you get exercise to keep those endorphins going. And he said, because
Yeah.
you guys need to have that kind of stimulation, right? You're not ones to kind of sit
Mm-hmm.
still. So it's a matter of where do you get the stimulation, where do you find it from, and not try and force what is not going to
Yeah.
happen. But I also, when you mention about the how do you do this? Because a lot of times when people kind of look at it and they go, wow, oh, all of a sudden you're telling me I can control the weather. And it's like, in a lot of cases with understanding vibration, I mean, that is a process, but also, you talk, a lot about intuition. And I thought of you last night. And I think what I wanted to say, my point is, and I'll make the point again at the end, is that you start small by being present and by being aware. And what happened was I was locking the door, and I was on my way to the golf course, and this course is about 40 minutes away. So I mean, I did have a little bit of a drive, and I had my water bottle and my socks and my handbag, and normally I would just throw them on the front seat of the car. And I went to put them on the front seat, and for some reason my intuition says, no, put them in the trunk. And so I went and I opened up my trunk, and I pulled it open, and my golf clubs were not in there. And I had forgotten that I had taken them out, and my shoes and everything, and I put them in the garage because I was helping my son move some boxes, and we took everything out to move the boxes. So had I not followed just that little inclination to put my water bottle and my socks and whatever in the trunk, I would have gone all the way to the golf course without my club, because I wasn't even thinking, right? So I think, when you start to go, okay, for newbies who are, all right, I want to do more. I want to be more. I know that I'm shifting. I know that life should have more meaning. It starts small. what was the other thing you said? It was about about earning money with your passion. And so here's the interesting thing. And again, I'm going to go back to what Sandrine said about following. So she likes to coach girls to fly, and of course she has a small airport, an island airport. She also has she has two aircraft, and last year, like when a lot of businesses came to a halt, so did hers. And so she was kind of like reinventing herself. What do I do? What do I do? One of the things that she's done, which is a big passion of mine too, is volunteering. And so rather than worrying about where income's going to come from, she just started. There was a girl who was just going around the world. She's 19 years old and she's flying around the world on her own. So Sandrine offered, when she got to Montreal, to help her get gas, get PR, get settled, get an oil change. Like it took her like 10 days, to organize all this stuff for that stop. But that 10 days of volunteer, first of all, she was living in her passion of aviation. She was helping somebody else, which gave her enormous satisfaction. But through that volunteer, guess what? She started meeting all kinds of people that said, oh, can I interview you? Can we partner with this? It all opened up doors, right? It's all about, being in that vibration, being in your purpose. And you don't know that whether or not it creates income. It probably will if you want it to, but it may not be from the source that you were expecting. And that's the problem, is it, right? We're always trying to control that outcome. When you start doing what you love and you get into that vibration and you put yourself out there and just stay open to possibility, that's the part about being in the present, that when you get that vibration and get rid of all the crap. And I know for me, this has been a year of, boy, I keep saying release, 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 releasing people, releasing circumstances, releasing belief systems, right? Releasing control.
I mean, that's the difference between thinking about income versus thinking about abundance. Abundance is not the same thing as money. Is one form of abundance, which we have in our society have focused on intensely for the last, I don't know, a couple hundred years. But it's not. So Michelle says, my emotions and energy are like a pendulum and controlling the swing and rhythm. So it's not extreme, but also not at a standstill, that it's okay to go with the flow. It's interesting, Michelle. So I don't know if this may help, this may not help. Sort of one of the things that helped me pivot and go more with the flow. And the flow is just your highest level of excitement, right? That's the flow is coming to all of us through our emotional guidance system, telling us when we're in and out of alignment. But the thing that I had to and it took me, I don't know, it could have been a couple months, could have been a year. It was like, I just kept saying to myself, there is a stream of well-being that is 100% present within me. I can align with it or I can be out of alignment with it. When I'm in alignment with it, that's when things are going to come to me in the way in which they are meant to come to me. And when I'm out of alignment, I'm adding to the expansion of the things that I want. Not I'm in the wrong place, not I should be in flow, not things have gone wrong, I should be doing better, because those are all the thoughts that come to us when we're out of alignment. But
detectors on.
It's like, I haven't done enough, I should be doing more, like all the bullshit we say to ourselves when we're out of alignment. And so what I'm wondering, and you can tell me, Michelle, if this is true or not true for you, but is there some concept of energy and emotion being like a pendulum a bad thing? Because, and I say that because there's a lot of hype in personal development about always being positive, right? And while that's a great Instagram post, it makes for, a really nice glowy Instagram post. It's not reality.
Not real.
Reality is we're swinging on this pendulum, depending on the topic we're looking at, depending on the circumstance we're looking at it, in and out all day long. And that's exactly, nothing's gone wrong. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Because you need to know on a real-time basis how you feel about each topic. And when you move out of alignment, you're going to go, guilt, fear, dread,
Right.
apathy,
Right.
you name. It's the gas tank in your car. You want to know when you're out of gas. If you don't know when you're out of gas, you don't know what to change. So think about, because, and again, you being the writer, I love when you write words, because I know you relate to the power behind words. But if there is any kind of punitive measure about the pendulum being a bad thing, then see if you can open to the pendulum being the natural order and state of being a spiritual being having a physical experience. You mentioned the word controlling the swing and rhythm, so it's not so extreme. um, and Jay mentioned, and we, part of the human condition is we want to control. When we can't control, we feel out of control. But when you're in the flow, you don't need to control, because you understand your
Mhm.
energy states. You understand when you're receiving, and when you're resistant. You understand that there's benefit.
I think, I like the word awareness as well, and recognition, that you recognize your pendulum and you go, man, my pendulum is like, I'm all over the map right now. So, I mean, I've got all these emotions, like, where's all this fear coming from? Right. And I think that that's, the universe's way of kind of saying to you, oh, lesson time, lesson time, lesson time. And as you said, it's on earth. Everything has an opposite, right? So everything has, you would not know light without darkness. You would not know in without out, right? So, up, down, black, white, we all have, and that's part of the pendulum as well. So some days it's erratic, it's going absolutely crazy. And I think that is obviously the learning stance that comes with it. When you go way over here, then oh, I get it. And I go way over here. I think one of the things that I learned a while ago, that, while that pendulum is going, when you set your intentions or set your goals, set it when the pendulum is in the center. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling really crappy and you go, oh, you're really down on yourself and the emotion or the fear or whatever, and you go, okay, that's it. I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to whatever, and you go and you're in that place and you go, that's it, and the opposite is when the pendulum is in a good place. And a lot of times people go, man, we just had this banner year, and I just did this killer workshop, and now I'm gonna, do all these. Like, when you set your, intentions and your goals when that pendulum is swung the other way, again, do it when you're a little more neutral, because that's when you're open, that's when your space is open, and your pendulum will kind of go either way. So, and I agree with you. I don't like control or correction. I just like awareness, okay, so I'm over here right now, and whoo, this feels good, doesn't feel good. Just name it, name it for whatever that emotion is that's coming up. And then, ask those questions. Okay, why am I feeling this way? What's causing me to, what am I thinking about? What is that paradigm? And for crying out loud, like, don't be hard on yourself, because this is so natural. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right? So it's nice when the pendulum doesn't. I mean, I was diagnosed bipolar spectrum years ago, and I, they put me on medication. I went on medication for like 3 days, and it was like, nah. First of all, I felt numb, and then I realized that no, it was more a nutrition thing, and it was more of a mindset thing that I was having. I think what happened was what you mentioned, Allison. I was so out of alignment that I think I was struggling to be what it was I was supposed to be, and honor all of my commitments and be responsible in all the things. But it was torturing me, and I think that's where I would have these huge wins and I would have these huge losses and whatever. And I wasn't manic or depressant, but I had these swings, and I think that the behavior people were trying to label it. It was like, that wasn't it at all. It was really one on. Did we lose Alison? Oh, there she is. Okay.
I'm having connectivity issues. It's like going in and out for me.
No. And once I realized that the emotions were just the lesson opportunities, put it that way, that I just kept hitting that wall, hitting that wall, hitting that wall, and go, okay, you got to get this at some point, right? So and allowing, I love that word, allowing, allowance, allowing myself some latitude there. I find even now, like I said to somebody the other day, like, perfection is long gone out the window. Like, there's so much disruption going on right now that I think we have to be. I've certainly cut other people slack, but I've learned to cut myself some slack too. And that's not something that I do very often. I mean, I have a very high standard that I set myself at. And lately it's like, you know what? I think that's part of a human approach, hashtag a human approach. I think that's part of it, is understanding where you are and not being so hard on yourself. So yeah. Yeah, that's a problem with social media, right? Everybody looks like they're all having a good time and they're all successful. And that's what we we guide ourselves against. And and that's unfair. That's unfair because that's not real life.
No, and Michelle says that's it, recognizing the benefits even when I'm not feeling productive. So, okay, so here's what's interesting about this.
Very
So,
true.
when you're not feeling productive, it's, at least personally, I'll speak for personally, when I'm feeling not productive, it's hard to see how things are working out for me. Like, because the feeling doesn't allow for that kind of thought process. The feeling allows for things have totally gone wrong. Things have gone off the rails. Nothing's ever going to work. So, just be cognizant of how, if you're trying to overthink your feeling, if you feel unproductive, do something that is kind to self, that allows self to naturally, like the cork rise, like Hicks talks about the cork rising, do something that's fun that allows your cork to rise, and then, pick some thoughts from that place. When life is measured by hard results, can you say a little bit more about that, Michelle? Because I think the way I'm interpreting that is there is a script, a narrative within the human consciousness that says, if I haven't suffered, I don't deserve. Meaning, if you haven't struggled, you haven't earned it. So, I don't know exactly what you mean within that, but that just provokes within me like that concept of like the hero's journey. If you haven't really hit rock bottom, then you don't deserve to have something that's great, which is total baloney. It's not true. It's just a storyline that we play out.
It's very true. Yeah, it's ingrained in us. That's where that guilt and shame comes in again, right? Yeah. And you know what? And I can relate because again, I know in the last couple of weeks I've been at my desk and I've been, I don't know what I've done. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks. I don't know what I've done. And I said that to somebody. I said, I don't feel productive. And she goes, well, what did you do? And I said, nothing. She goes, well, you must be doing something. And I said, well, I've been watching some tutorials. I've done a bit of writing. I said, I've been on Facebook, and I said, I go on different people's posts and I support them on whatever it is that they're doing, or I encourage them, or I connect people, or I've been supporting one of the political candidates. I jumped in on that, and I'm trying to help him sort of get organized and stuff. And she goes, well, like that's a lot of stuff. And I did some meditations, and I got caught up with some other learnings and whatever. And so she goes, that's a lot. And I said, well, I guess what Rachel was saying, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, yeah, but I didn't sell anything today. I didn't publish anything today. Right. I didn't, whatever those hard results are. So I think we tend to measure ourselves like that. And that's my story the last couple of weeks. That's a lot of what I've done. And I finally, I realized like a lot of people are on holiday, so they're not making decisions. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. There's a lot of restrictions coming down that I will go full disclosure on record saying they're unconstitutional and against the Nuremberg Code, but it's scaring the crap out of people. And so people are being pressured, they're being divided, they're feeling very uncomfortable right now. So it's kind of like, that's not going to be the time where I'm going to sell anything. That's going to be the time that I can go out and I can inspire and I can educate and I can support people. So that's what I'm doing. And if you call that nothing, well, that's nothing, but I think it's something, right?
Yeah, the concept of productivity equal worth is such a common narrative. I had it, I still have it. There are times where I feel like I want to jump off the couch to look like I'm productive, so no one in my family judges me for sitting on the couch. Right.
And that Albert Einstein used to say, you have to have thinking time. And he was one of the first like personal development people I studied years ago when I was in my teens. And I always thought, I know I need thinking time. I need to walk, or I need to put my feet up on my desk and just kind of allow things to germinate. It looks like I'm doing nothing, but I'm very, very productive.
Yeah. Michelle says hard results, meaning abundance that is visible. Okay, this is interesting. Abundance that is visible versus subtle improvements or invisible results. So yes, I may feel good that I wrote a few pages, but feel bad that the book isn't ready or they aren't earning things. So this is so, I love this. So thank you for
Yeah,
saying
that's
that.
so
So,
perfect. So
so so, okay. So what I would say is that begin to play with your definition of what is meaningful, because subtle improvements. So oftentimes we're looking for others to approve, right? And if it's a subtle improvement and no one else can see it, therefore they can't validate our worthiness because no one else can see it. So switching that narrative to being one in which we can validate our own worthiness, because if some, because subtle is a quantitative, qualification. Subtle means isn't very good, or no one else can see it, or there's some connotation to the word, why you use subtle and invisible, and to also recognize that emotions, while they can be invisible, although body language is a real thing, they are actual manifestations. There are actual manifestations happening within us 24/7 that nobody else can validate or recognize or see. And sometimes even we can't see them, but there are constant manifestations happening. And manifestation is a word that usually is attributed to something tangible outside of ourselves that other people can, congregate around and point at and look at and sniff at and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
So you may feel good that you wrote a few pages. So clearly for you, it seems like, based on the words that you chose, that the productivity of the writer's narrative, meaning, and there's a lot about productivity in writing, and that you're not good, you're not a writer unless you produce, right? And Michelle is, I've seen her stuff. She's a prolific writer. She's, in my opinion, you are super successful, whatever that word means, but successful as a writer, and a great writer. So, but if there are other writers in your environment that are buying into the narrative that unless you write, you aren't productive, you feel bad that the book isn't ready, because there are other people telling you that in order to have it be validated, they need to see it, they need to sell it, right? And so there's a whole lot wrapped up into the
Yeah.
emotional definition, and the definition you have, and then the emotional reaction is in accordance to the definition. It shows you what your definition is. What's interesting, Michelle, is I am not a paid writer, right? I have no, I don't have a lot of conversations with people like you do around writing and the validity of proof in the writing. Although I am reading The Artist's Way, which is about writing, but I view myself as hyper productive because in my imaginative realm, I spend so much time on this book that I'm writing. Right? It's brewing. Actually, there are two of them, but because I understand the extreme, what's the right word, worthiness, I don't know if that's the right word, of the imaginative realm, and that it's actually a reality, it's just not in a physical reality yet. I think that I'm productive when I'm dreaming. I feel the productivity of this book on it's called the halfways. It's about pretty much every human that lives halfway between the psychic world and the physical world. But it's in there, it's brewing, but I don't have to play with the narrative that I'm not productive because I haven't put pen to paper yet. But all that means is we each have our definition, we each have our belief system, but we can see that in very clear ways when we feel the emotional tug in relationship to a topic. So
Yeah, and I think I think that, and the thing is, I'm going to focus on sort of the last part of that, the comment, because I think it's a difference too of if this is something that's important to you. I mean, I always think that, we have our priorities. There's all kinds of things that we do during our day, and then all of a sudden, your mom's in the hospital, and what happens? Priorities completely shift. Everything that was important yesterday is not important anymore, and you completely shift. And I think we need to live our lives in that way. In other words, what's priority to me? What should I be doing? And not all of the things that that are that society says you should be doing. What is it that you want to do? And if putting that book and writing that book and everything is super priority to you, then gift yourself more of that time so that you feel productive. If you feel that you don't feel productive, you've only written the pages and the book isn't out because of others' expectations, and that's external.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, I told you last week when, you know, about the book, I did the same thing when I was writing Sensory Media, was kept saying to people I was going to write a book, and then I purposely said it to make sure that I was going to make a commitment to it. But then people were coming back to me going, "Where's that book of yours? Where's that book?" And then I felt the pressure, and the more pressure, the more writer's block, right? So it was hurdle after hurdle to get out just a tiny little book, you know, with a big message, but a tiny book. And so I think that, you know, it depends on where that pressure is coming from or what you feel. But if that book is important to you, then you know what, clear the slate. You know, like get rid of some other, you know, tasks or anything, and just say, you know what, this is something that I really feel compelled that I need to do. I love doing it. It gives me a lot of joy, a lot of energy. And, you know, when I'm in that zone and I'm writing and whatever, and just hold that vision, like what I know with Bob Proctor, he always says is get the cover of the book done first. And so, and have it printed, have a page on your desk or wherever, post it around the house. And so that you start to get in that vibration of what that book looks like, who you're talking to about the book, the sales of the book. And I'm not talking in terms of like, make it a financial commitment or anything, but this is your expression to the world. How do you feel once you have put that expression into the world? What does that cover look like? Who are you talking to? Who is impacted? Who writes you the thank you card saying, "Oh my God, you know what you said was so meaningful, and I'm glad you shared a little piece of yourself," because it's, you know, I always say again, you know, our number one job here is to serve humanity. So, you know, if that's your way of serving humanity, then go write that book, you know, and if that's, never mind productivity, but if that's what's gnawing at you to go do it, then go do it.
Yeah, Michelle's a fiction writer. So the one thing too, again, this may resonate, Michelle, this may not, but when Jay mentioned emotions, like whatever piece of the writing process is the easiest, where you feel the flow, where you feel that, you know, connection to the imaginative realm, that's also where the finished book and the earnings lie. They lie in that sensation. So if that sensation's plaguing you, find a way to just remember when you're already in that flow state that those two things also lie there, because they lie in the stream of well-being. We think we have to feel good about the finished book product in order for it to be finished. You actually don't. You just have to get into the flow, because the flow is that state of reception. And when you're in that flow of reception, all those things will come to you. The ending, whatever you need to get it done, right? The way the characters are portraying themselves, all of that lies within the flow. So your only job is really to get into the flow and then follow it and see where it goes. And again, that's where the book will be finished. That's where the earnings lie. You know, they're all in that sensation, because that sensation is indicative of your alignment. And the alignment is showing you that you're hooked up to all that is, the results that you know, are hoping are somewhere down the timeline. You know, the flipping the Walt Disney thing, they're somewhere down the timeline.
Yeah. And I can feel a but coming in.
Give me the but. Let's hear it.
You know, because, you know, I think as human beings, once we see that vision and we want something, I know with me, I want it now. You know, like, it's like, no, like I said, you know, I invested in a pre-construction condo, and it was kind of like, okay, well, you know, I'll let my house in that place, you know, the investment, you know, go up, and then, you know, in a couple of years when it's ready, you know, move in, and, you know, whatever. And I had this kind of plan. But it's like, once I bought it, I mean, it wasn't even dirt at the time that I bought it, you know. And it's like, but then once I made that decision, it was like, oh, I want it now. And I think that, you know, that here's the but coming in. It's like, you know, that I have to go with the flow, and I have to do all of these steps, you know, before I can actually, you know, achieve that, you know, that milestone. So, but I think you're right. You know, I don't think you're right. I know you're right. You know, when you get in the flow and you get in the vibes and everything, and things start to go, it's, you just know you're on a path. And, you know, from a productivity standpoint, yes, you know, then you feel productive. Is it finished anytime sooner? Maybe yes, maybe no, but at least you're in the process, right?
So I spent a lot of time there in that place where I want it now. I want it now. But in hindsight, I realized that was a place of resistance that
Yeah,
was not
of
in the
course.
flow. And so
Yeah.
what I learned is over time how to be happy with the journey. And when you think about a book, if you were writing a book and the book is dropping in, it's like in good books do, just drop into a conversation. Imagine that the book doesn't have an ending, right? There is no definitive, they ride off into the sunset. Um, that's us, right? Everything is a step along the way. And when I sort of took a bird's eye view of, you know, incarnate, transition back out, there's all these things in between these two bookends of I'm birthed, I die. Everything is a step along the way. Everything is part of the process. And if you find yourself going, I want it now, but you're actually not enjoying the journey, what you're saying is, I don't trust that everything is part of the process. Everything is part of the journey. So, I think of my life as a story. I sort of popped into the dialogue in the beginning where I was birthed and I'm having all of these chapters in between. And at the end, there won't be a definitive ending. What will be is a transition onto
Yeah.
something else. You can
There-
look at it as a different genre. You go from fiction to nonfiction, or you slip out into a different genre when you retract your focus from this reality and move it somewhere else to a different frequency.
And you know what, I'm gonna argue a bit because I don't think when I say and I want it now that it's not that I don't trust the process or anything.
Oh no, there's no
All
judgment on
of a
yours.
sudden
Yeah.
all of a sudden I get excited about the potential. And I think
Yeah.
being visionary, because that is my thing. I mean, I jump on that 30,000 foot level and I scare customers sometimes because I'll say, we need some pens for our trade show. Then I start asking questions and all of a sudden I see this big thing happening, like all of the people showing up and the contests and the activity and the sales and the, excitement. I see all of that playing out. And it's like, and for me, it's like you see some of the journaling I do after meditation, very, very visual. And I create this whole thing. And once you see it, it's like, oh, I want that, so yes, there is a process and you have to step back and go, okay, what is that first step? And the first step obviously is, getting in the flow. So, but I think it's the want it now is that, it is because once you see it and you get excited about it, you want to touch it, you want to go, you want to experience it. Right. But there are experiences leading up, but once you see that, you want to experience. It's like getting, with me, I'll say that, on a, I'm doing a, not 100%, but I'd say a 90% detox right now. And I think because I'm recognizing that my when you have toxins, your instrument is not in tune, right? And I'm not one of those people. I love food and I love to cook and I love wine and stuff. And so it's for me taking everything out. And saying, no, I really need to feed myself just super organic and whatever's. It's honoring, but to a certain extent, when you're a foodie, it does take some pleasure. I'm not a fast food person. I don't eat junk. I don't eat processed food. So a lot of that stuff is easy. I don't eat dessert. But there are things like bread and cheese, that's kind of like, okay, I don't need all that stuff. So still cheating a little bit there. But for the most part, taking out a lot of toxins and being pure. And also because over the lockdown period, I was not super kind to myself. I wasn't eating as well as I should. A lot of people, were smart in that, in their development stage, they took that time to go, well, maybe it's time where I should exercise more or eat. I did the opposite. Like I punished myself, which is awful, but that's like, I hit like a really bad wall. Go, okay, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. And I killed myself over it. And of course, being, I labeled myself a stress eater a long time ago. So I lived up to that label, and then, yeah. And so the weight that I had released, I thought I released it finally, my menopause weight. I thought I had finally released it a few years ago, and it just came back like 10 pounds a month. Like it was so fast, right? And so over the last while, about just, going back to that, centering and self-honoring and slowing down and being more in tune and everything, the detox was just, it came so natural. It's like, you know what, I need to release this stuff because I need to be more in tune. I want to feel lighter. And what's in my mind is, when I'll circle back to sort of that end vision of being excited about it, what is in my mind is when I did release my menopause weight a few years ago, that I felt like myself again. I was fit,
Yeah.
I was trim, I was healthy. People just say, man, you look like you work out all the time. And I said, I don't, but I just like, I was just in such good shape.
Yeah.
And I had energy and I was just beaming. Like I just felt like I was invincible. Right. And having put the weight back on, it's like, I know that that doesn't define me, but in my own mind, to a certain extent, it does, right? So that vision of how I feel when I'm lighter and in shape and how I was beaming, I want that. And I
Yeah.
want it now, so I know
Yeah.
the process. I know that I call it mindful eating. That's all I'm doing. I'm not, I understand how to eat. I know what foods are, are quality foods and what foods are detox, what foods are antioxidants. And I know what foods work for me from a, not just metabolic, but from an emotional standpoint. That so-called bipolar thing in check. Again, I don't believe that, but I think nutrition has a lot to do with it. And so, when I have proper nutrition, then I know that I'm way more stable and way more whole. So, but I know it's going to be a process to get back to that feeling of, in shape and energy and beaming again. And, more of my clothes, right? I don't like opening my closet and not being able to wear half of what's in there. Like, it's very frustrating, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not,
No.
but hold that vision. I can make mindful decisions now, and I can say to myself, like at the time when I chose this versus that, I can say, good for you.
Yeah.
That's all that I had control over at that time, right?
Yeah. Well, the coolest thing I ever learned about visualization was exactly what you said. The purpose of it is to help you get excited. That's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is not to frustrate you. The purpose of it is to help you get excited so that you're in alignment, so that you're receiving. Like that's the whole purpose of the imaginative faculty. I'm going to throw a in the comment section there the name of the medical medium, because just because you were talking about health and alignment and frequency and vibration, all of that, he's the only person that has ever helped me through the process of food alone get back into that high frequency vibe that you were talking about repeatedly. So if anyone's interested, I have no affiliation with him. I just love his work. And again, he's the only one that, because the body is such a specific organism, even if you test for your blood on one day, that's only a reflection of that day. So his work is so beneficial to me. I just am excited about sharing it. So if anyone's interested,
resource,
go find him, go figure out if he resonates with you, and all of that. So we're at 52. What do you think? Should we wrap it up?
I'm so sad to let you go.
I know, this is so fun. I have been having so much fun.
Just goes, I said that my son was talking about that, he loves music, he listens to music. He has a Netflix account. I don't think that, that really watches it a whole lot, but I think sometimes he will listen to certain kinds of music, or he will watch shows and everything just to be able to have a conversation with people. And he knows that I'll sit there and I'll be like, whatever, oh, did you see somebody drop this song? And do you follow that tribe? I don't even have a Netflix account. Life is just way too interesting all by itself. But, and I'm out of the conversation. And I think he was looking at that like that was a little bit of a bad thing, that I wasn't being social. And I said, you know what? Then when people in my tribe like you, Allison, when we get to talk about behavior and visualization and intuition and all the things that make us human beings so fascinatingly, brilliantly amazing, then I'm in my vibe. I mean, I'll talk about that all day because I love it. I love people. I love our planet. I love where we're going. And so I can spend all day in that topic. So thank you for the opportunity, Allison. Thank you for the invitation to do this 3-part series. It has been absolute joy. I hope that people, get some nuggets out of what we've been doing. And I really, I'm glad that we've got a chance to exchange and learn from each other during this time together.
Why don't you just tell people where they can get a hold of you? Because clearly if they resonate with you, they want to get a hold of you. What are you doing? How can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Definitely. My website is under my name, jrang.com. That's it. So as soon as you land there, there'll be, connections, or my email address is jaeassociates.com. So you can get me there. So, but the website is a great start too. That
Yeah,
was
and I really
taking
and
that human approach together.
sign up for Jay's email too, because I love your
Oh, my aha moment. Yeah. So when you go on
yeah.
there, all of the aha moments are archived on there. So under blog, so you can go through and you kind of get a feel for it. But they're all under 60-second reads, and they're all about shifting perspective. And that is probably right now my favorite part of my work is putting that stuff out there. So yeah, and it seems to be the single thing that keeps a lot of people in very diverse areas connected with us. So yes, definitely
Yeah.
sign up for the Aha Moment Monday blog.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, people can find me. I'm doing a lot of stuff on Instagram. I really like the short bursts of image versus content. I'm on Clubhouse. I have a website, but I don't know. It's sort of like a landing spot for just, you can go there and you can sign up for my free class. You can get more information on me, and that's just AllisonSutter.com. Most importantly, if anyone resonates with me, I have an open enrollment process. I don't do launches like a lot of people do. I just have an open enrollment. And if there's, because I'm very boutiquey, I'm very small, only a handful of people at a time, because it's just me. It's just what I do. So if you resonate with my work and you want to coach one-on-one, it's just get the book. If you resonate with the book, you can either get the self-guided online class or you can come work directly with me. And it's literally, that's just what we do. We just work through the 7 steps, perspectives. We do it over a year because we need time and space between those for a person to experience life, to have aha moments. I'm not a short-term kind of person. I just prefer to do it longer term because I know it makes a bigger difference. So again, it's open enrollment. If there's a spot, someone can join. That's just what I do. But
And I love your Instagram
awesome.
posts. I know you post on Instagram often, and they're always real. Yeah, they're very insightful and real thinkers, and very valuable. Yeah. So thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I
All
guess we
right.
are complete.
Yes. Succeed
Thank you,
deliberately.
Michelle. And thank you, everyone, for joining us live and asking questions. And maybe we'll see you again.
Hope so. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.